And welcome back to Baku. Welcome back to the tie-breaks of the final of the 2015 World Cup. We are witnessing something, well, historical.
Yeah, that's right.
It's totally unpredictable what's going to happen in these next two games, two Blitz games, 5 minutes plus 3 seconds increment per move. We've already seen everything today. Peter Svidler, he was so close to winning the World Cup. Sergey, he was so close to winning the World Cup. And as if somebody has told them that it has to be exciting till the very late afternoon and the early evening here, they are still sitting there, and there you can see the score.
Yeah, that's right. No draws. 4-4 out of 8 games and no draws.
Yes, in a match where somebody expressed some fear before that there might be too many draws. Well, we're still waiting for that first draw. As you said, Miro, I mean, the one who loses this match, this World Cup, I mean, he feels so terrible.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who it will be, but both have to.
Yeah, after putting so much of an effort in this one, and particularly with those comebacks, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Karjakin being a hero, especially. I mean, coming back in classical games from 2-0 down. So
let's
Samurai
see
Lopez, and I don't know if I'll catch up with moving the pieces, because electronic port is not fast enough, obviously. When we reach a certain position, I hope they will stop.
Yeah.
So Marshall, yeah, that's what I can say. It's a Marshall attack.
The Marshall, which we had expected a bit earlier.
So knight takes, and Karjakin gets to take the pawn, and it's c6, d3, bishop d6, and well, rook already went somewhere, I believe. But yeah, I mean, once again, it's a lot of moves being made. Rook e1, bishop f5, queen f3, and rook e8 was the move of Peter Svidler. So perhaps that was a preparation. So rook takes e8, queen takes e8. Now you can't take the bishop because of a mate on e1, knight d2, check, knight went to f1, and bishop g6. That's the position Karjakin starts thinking. Peter is still in his preparation. 5:35, and not to forget, it's not 5:39. It's not 10 seconds, but 3 seconds increments. So that means he managed to accumulate half a minute.
Yeah, that's an achievement, and he's 1 minute ahead of Karjakin, which may play a role at some point.
Yes, and well, what's more dangerous, I would say, that, well, if Karjakin doesn't know this line, I mean, that's of course,
because this is all
line is not purely defensive. I mean, for black, it's very aggressive line, in fact. And if you don't know what you're doing, then, well, 5 minutes or in this situation already 4 minutes are simply not enough. You might find 1 or 2 moves, but then, well, if the line goes 10 precise moves from both sides, then you're simply not in time. Well, I mean, on the other hand, what you always can do is to play queen d1, let's say, and then give back the pawn on d3 and try to finish the development. And perhaps there is nothing wrong for white anyway.
So you mean it was this line with rook e8 was the surprise for Karjakin?
Yeah, I remember, well, after queen f3, Magnus Carlsen playing bishop g6 in Charkier against Vishy Anand. Not a bad line, but Magnus misplayed it later on. He was on the verge of losing. Bishop b3 to c2 is played. And then it's turned to Svidler to be surprised. Well, I wonder what happens after knight c3. Who's going to tell me? Because you can't really take on c6 because of knight e2 check, mate to follow. And if you capture the knight, then it's queen c3, queen defense, and on c6, attacks c2 and attacks a1. So seems like black is getting back the material. So I don't know if it's... Well, but if it's not prepared, I mean, that might be an awkward situation when Svidler knows that bishop c2 is not the... Well, just assume that knight c3 works, then say Svidler knows that knight c3 is not the... bishop c2 is not the move, which is good for white. It must be some refutation, but if you don't see, I mean, you're not certain, then...
Yeah, he is...
He's tempted to play something, but... So really, I'm trying to find a refutation for that one, and honestly, I can't see really. So takes, queen takes, and how do you defend both rook and the bishop? Well, so he takes his time, already 1.5 minutes spent in this position. Well, because after knight c3, in fact, there is no way back for white. Knight e2 is a huge threat, so similarly you have to take the knight, unless there is something for white in that position, but I don't see it. I mean, rook is hanging. Rook is hanging, right.
And he's thinking for 2 minutes on this move. That's...
No, perhaps he spotted knight c3 and he just tries to figure out if it works.
Well, now he's catching up with Karjakin, so
time might play a role in this game. Yeah, b4 was played, b4, and then it was c4. But then it's a question, what do you do after that one? Well, I don't know really. I don't like this before that much. Because now c6 is hanging. Wow, at first like I don't know, he can still play knight e7, but well, feels weird to move the knight back. So particularly if really this knight c3 was possible, then why didn't he play that? Well, that's not what you want to do. I mean, to spend a couple of minutes on b4 and immediately after c4 start thinking again.
Yeah. But it is as dramatic as you painted, Miro, because I had a look at the computer and knight c3. I mean, there is nothing against it.
So there was a strong move.
A very strong move, yeah. So this is.
And then wow, that's something confusing. So b4, c4, and then he goes for b3. And now, well, whole lot of options for white this time. Because you might be taking d5, you might be taking b3. Well, what's wrong, for instance, with taking on b3 with the bishops? And knight will go to b4 supposedly, and once again black can play queen d1. And in this case, all the same position arises on the board, just it's going to be a pawn up for white. Yeah. Well, and what this double face palm supposed to mean?
He doesn't...
perhaps, well, I don't know if he realized knight c3 was the move.
He doesn't even hide his disappointment, where Sergey Karjakin at certain moments he kept his poker face. I mean,
bishop d1 was played. Is that the move? Bishop d1, and then after knight b4, well, bishop d1 is a strong one, I feel like, because after knight b4 there is bishop d2 first, kicking the queen away, then he's going to take the knight. So after, say, queen e7, he's going to take the knight. He might want to take that pawn and only then on b3, so, which leaves white with a lot of extra pawns, at least. Knight b4 was played, nevertheless. Now that was apparently the idea Peter Svidler missed, that after b3 white has bishop d1, very strong move. So now knight b4 is played, and bishop d2. After bishop d2, black went for queen e5, targeting b2 as well. but bishop c3 intermediate is always available. So at least this way it seems. So bishop d3, bishop c3 is played. It's queen c5 from Peter Svidler. Now we are not in time to reproduce the moves. I mean, I'm not getting the moves on my digital board. So, well, but yeah, looking at Peter, he simply cannot play that game after realizing that knight c3. So I guess he caught Karjakin by surprise in this line.
The cruel
that's
thing.
The feeling.
You surprise him. You have this novelty. You get everything you can dream of.
Yes, and knight c3 gives you an advantage, and seemingly a huge advantage, and then you don't play it after spending a couple of minutes in this.
Yeah, this is very bitter for Peter. And
yes, well, obviously one might suggest better nerves control, but no nerves left, I believe, in such a dramatic tiebreak. So bishop b4, queen b4, and without taking on c6, white simply takes b3. So 2 pawns up, Sergey Karjakin, and seemingly, well, winning. Well, it has to be winning position. I mean, still chances for black, practical chances, particularly in a game where white has 1.5 minutes and black has a little bit more than one. But objectively speaking, it has to be bad. Even though, I mean, if black gets bishop to c5 and starts moving the pawn, maybe he can post some fight there. But well, knowing the situation once again that black was, well, if not winning, that getting a huge advantage in practically in one move. Rook e1. Bishop c5, played without hesitation. Yes. Well, black still has some compensation for the material, I believe, in practical terms, because well, the bishop is passive, knight is still on f1. So I mean, if we are to speak of the for Blitz, it's acceptable position. In fact, I mean, if Svidler would not be affected with,
But two pawns.
2 pawns, yes. I mean, 1 pawn would not mean much. Bishop a4, a tricky one. So tries to get the pawn on c6. Now, well, perhaps, I don't know if it's good or bad, but black, well, Svidler played rook d8. And this one, honestly, I don't like so much. Well, I thought of rook c8, which doesn't feel great either, but you want to keep this c6 pawn, and to illustrate, there is no mate on back rank, so bishop c6 answers with queen c6, and then after that there is no mate because black has bishop f8. But with all the so that's what happens. So rook d8, rook d1 was played, and then Svidler takes on b2, bishop c6, and now queen a2, and this pawn will start to run. So now it gets really sharp. Bishop h5. Bishop h5. What is that? Did Karjakin miss this one? Bishop h1. Rook b1. Queen b1. Third. They are playing on seconds. Now it's changed, and it's absolutely winning for Svidler now. And bishop f2 will win in practically immediately. Bishop f2. King f2. Queen check to b6. It's an extra exchange for Peter Svidler now. So what a drama! I mean, you can't really no, but look, I mean, this is dangerous moment because knight gets into play, and we know how tricky these knights can be, particularly in a time trouble. So queen d6. Now I'm not catching up. I guess we don't have to look at the board, but just on the camera view. Yeah, that's here we are. 5. So Karjakin is really low on time. He's really low on time, and then Peter was about to swap queens, but then he realized that those 2 connected passed pawns might be a bit dangerous, so he'd better not. He'd better try to hunt white's king. Well, and Karjakin managed to build up some sort of a, well, not a fortress in per se, but really set up which will be hard to break. And well, I remember the game which went with the similar scenario came between Michael Adams and Lenier Dominguez, where Lenier was winning, but and Svidler blunders the rook, and he blunders the rook, and he resigns.